Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday, the 14th day of June, 2013, and this rarely happens, but I'm here to tell you, the news I've got in front of me is absolutely off the chart important. Militarily, economically, everything. I've got to go through all of the 15-plus stacks of news I've got here, all of it is so incredibly illustrative of what we face, and that's the key, is getting the general public to not be distracted by how the establishment spins stories, but to get the public to understand the news behind the news, the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey, good day, would say. I mean, look at Drudge Report today. Look at this headline. War, U.S. military support for Syrian rebels, no-fly zone. Syrian rebels pledge loyalty to Al-Qaeda, USA Today. Now, I've been telling you that for 2 years plus, that it is Al-Qaeda forces. Then you go up here. Spy agencies swap data with thousands of firms. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Telecommunications Act of '96. That's what they bragged about in the New York Times in 2001. I'm going to get into that. They've tried to roll all this out to the public before. It's all going on illegally. They're just doing it. And it has nothing to do with terrorism. Nothing. I mean, not even 1% of it. It is about Fortune 100 firms that lobbied the government to build it. And they got paid to build it. They made money building it, and then now they have got the corner on the entire market. The stock market's rigged, the interest rates are rigged, the fuel prices are rigged. Everything is a rigged economy in the United Kingdom, the U.S., and Europe to a great extent. And they're shutting down all their competition using regulators and using surveillance systems to game all of the infrastructure to take over. And they brag about that. The NSA is there to kill freedom. The NSA is there to bring in Agenda 21. The NSA is there with these giant computer programs to consolidate power. And finally, Zero Hedge, Business Insider. I even saw a Reuters article mentioning it. People are going, wait a minute. You mean they're using this for business? That's an unfair trade advantage. Really? Really? You pay to be spied on. You're like, well, nothing to hide. Your info can be used against you. You have nothing to hide, so you put photos of yourself on Facebook and say, by the way, I'm going to the Bahamas for a week, and thieves find out where you live and rob your house. You had nothing to hide because you're not a bad person, dummy. The bad people want your info. What is your problem? That is why this is a felony. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to say I was psychic to know all this stuff. I'm not. I know human nature, I know history, and I study the funding of these infrastructures and the groups that are lobbying. They've got over 100 firms lobbying 24/7 to get rid of all our rights and turn over the computer systems to them, and they get paid to spy on us and share it with everybody. They are a bunch of ruthless gangsters and thugs. I've gone to a Smart Growth conference. I've gone to several, but back in like 1998 in Austin, and they were just standing around, thousands of them, business, corporate leaders going, we're going to rob everybody, shut everybody's business down but us, and take over. High five, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, and I'm sitting there going, and I walk over to a famous Dallas cowboy who just given a speech about how they were taking over. And I said, why are you talking like this? Of course, no filming was allowed in there. And he just goes, get out of my way, and just shoved me out of the way with crazed eyes. Just like, yeah, America's ours, ah, ah. And the public are a bunch of sheep thinking this is to protect them from terrorists. Terroristas, give me a break. 14th day of June, 2013, I'm your host, Alex Jones, former Minnesota governor, and a good friend of mine, Jesse Ventura, will be joining us coming up in the second hour of worldwide transmission, but it will be news and phone calls the rest of the time. All right, where to begin? Here is what we're going to be breaking down and covering today. Obviously, we told you the word came from our sources that Bilderberg was going to go ahead and give the order to publicly drop the hammer on their 2+ year war against the sovereign nation of Syria using al-Qaeda. And we're going to move forward with a no-fly zone and a kinetic energy action known as a Nobel Prize bombing campaign, properly Orwellian termed. And Obama has made that announcement at the White House. He has his fiction writer. That's an article up on Infowars.com. That's who they hired. That's the fellow that came up with the term kinetic energy action. They had a fiction writer write up the new evidence of chemical weapons claim. Headline, man behind Syrian chemical weapons claim is fiction writer who ran Benghazi cover-up. And Paul Watson has the other article up there, arrest Obama under NDAA for supporting terrorists in Syria. And that sounds bizarro because it is bizarro. Truth is more bizarro than anything Marvel Comics could come up with. And I'm going to go over those headlines here in just a moment. This is unprecedented what's happening, and the Russians are going to pour more weapons and troops in. So this is basically a war with Russia, with global banks using the United States for a worldwide destabilization, which they can use as the political distraction to implode major currencies and further loot treasuries in banker bailout programs. You have to understand, it's globalist above the nations playing us off against each other and controlling criminal networks. And Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer, who's got some of the highest security clearances possible, concurred with my analysis yesterday. So did General Hamid Gul, the former head of Pakistani intelligence that led the CIA-funded war against the Russians. He beat the Russians with about 1% of the firepower. He came on yesterday from Pakistan and concurred with my analysis 100% because we know what's going on. Here's what's frustrating. This stuff is not hidden. This is hiding in plain view. And it's not up for interpretation what's going on. The most lawless, bizarre, openly criminal actions are going on right now. Our so-called government's run by foreign banks. It ships in narcotics publicly, launders the money publicly says they'll disappear and arrest any U.S. citizens they want, publicly spies on everything we're doing to have economic advantage against grassroots companies. That's now finally in the news. Is waging war on the family. They're having lesbian gay meetings with children as the presenters, again, sexualizing children. It is just unbelievable how it's all over the top. This is a criminal, globalist, anti-human revolution taking place against the people of the world. This is scientifically being done to short-circuit our normal human programming that's designed for survival. So we've got all of that news coming up. We've got Obama swearing to kill the Keystone Pipeline again and to shut off U.S. power grids. Obama tells Keystone foes he will unveil climate measures. He already did it. He already upped the carbon tax that Congress wouldn't pass, but is already in place. He just upped it, and the money goes directly to him and the Rothschilds. I mean, it is just absolutely, totally unprecedented. You know, imagine if they had a event at the White House for, say, you know, a movement for women to be able to go topless. It's still sexual. And they had little kids do the presentation. You'd be like, why do you got kids involved with something sexual? Maybe you can have kids deliver you the shrimp and sirloin at the topless bar. It's like, well, it's no big deal. You know, we have kids delivering you your drink at the topless bar. You know, they've got their clothes on, so it's okay. Again, it's sexualizing children, just like Jocelyn Elders saying, we've got to reach down and help the 5-year-olds. Remember those clips? And you're like, what is this about? If they can take your kids at age 5 and teach them about sex, they can do anything. They want in your life. Your kids belong to them. They run TV ads on MSNBC saying, your kids aren't yours, they're the state's. In Germany and many other countries of Europe, they take your kids if you try to homeschool. On every sitcom drama show, they demonize homeschoolers. They're coming for those of us that have not been fully absorbed into their program. This is a global scientific Borg takeover in their words. They say we will be assimilated, and I say they can go to Hades. Now, let me go over something here for you. I told you about 1,000 times conservatively, and we wrote articles about it, and we talked about it, and I'm not asking for credit. I'm asking for people to understand why I get so angry and why I'm begging you to get more active. The NSA was always set up to steal your personal data and to spy on small companies and mid-sized corporations to then hand their developments and innovations over to foreign-based operations and to move those programs in the last 30 years to China. And I was told that by NSA people. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I really don't want to talk about this. You see the atmosphere of persecution and things that are going on. But I'm on record. You know, wherever it came from, I told you. Okay? I told you. I mean, you know, I had former top CIA briefers to Ronald Reagan on the show. I get the head of Pakistani intelligence and the former top general on. I mean, those are not the only sources we've got, ladies and gentlemen. But it's also come out in publications in the last 20 years that I've been deep in study, 18 years on air. It is a fact that if you don't have privacy, you don't have freedom and you're a slave. The idea that you have privacy because you're hiding something is a fraud. You have privacy because bad people will use your lack of privacy to enslave you. So we're going to be getting to that at the bottom of the hour. And again, I'll use the example. You've heard of the thousands of reported robberies where people are dumb enough to post their address on Facebook or generally where they live, and then to show the Christmas presents they got in some narcissistic moron exercise. And then they get robbed. Now that just gives you an idea of why privacy is important. Why does the government want privacy when it's the only group that's not supposed to have it to commit all their crimes and things? So from their perspective, it is because they're doing a lot of bad things. But the individual has maximum privacy unless there is a person swearing an oath on record so they can be faced as the accuser, and so they can be arrested if they file a false report listing the person, place, papers, and effects that are to be searched, and specifically why. Here's the warrant. We're here to search because a witness said they saw you putting a body in a trunk in your basement. And they go down into the basement to look for the trunk. That's a warrant. Or we have sworn witnesses that you're conducting drug deals on the phone and they bought drugs from you and arranged for it over the phone. They have sworn, they're on record, and we are coming to, tap your phone to see if that's the case. This is the type of warrants they get from a judge. And people said, well, let's make the people giving the tips secret. Oh, so they'll be safe. And then they can now have all these felons and people that they're hiring for the police forces and the State Department and the TSA on purpose. It's a criminal takeover. They can now just say they saw the insurance salesman down the block sell drugs, and the cops come to his house and gun him down and then take the house and no drugs are found. So what? I mean, this is the type of world we're entering into here. And now it's coming out that they're fixing the stocks, the bonds, they're shutting down their competition, they're gaming with flash trades, they're gaming with interest rate fixing. They know how the public's going to move, what they're going to do. It's all an unfair trade advantage, and that's what the Fortune 100 have, and they get paid to build the spy grid. 90+% on record of the spy grid in the Western world is run by private law firms, private groups. And they can walk in and dial in and listen to your phone. They can go and dial in and turn on your TiVo and watch you, now coming out with cameras. They can dial into your computer. And when the national press is here, they always go, why are the cameras on your computers covered? And I go, well, there's onboard microphones we can't turn off, but you know, they have AI computers that dial in and watch and listen. And they'll laugh at me. I had Nightline laugh at me when they were here. They were like, really, Alex? And I was like, you know this is patented and on record. And they just wink and go, because they're lying to themselves. It's like a funny joke or something. Look, this isn't a funny joke. The FEMA camps are public. The Emergency Centers Establishment Act, all of this is on record. The Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, they are gearing up for the total collapse and the arrest of at least 8 million Americans to be sent to re-education camps, and many of us are to be killed. And they're training to do that. Now, that's all on record, by the way. This is a treasonous, criminal, military-industrial complex run by foreign banks, spying on everything you do to be able to predict the future and game you and your family and rob you and set up financial actuaries where it's impossible for somebody that plays by the rules to make it in society. Our society is run by the worst of the worst of the worst criminals, and being a nice guy is being a schmuck. You understand? Notice the establishment has such incredible disdain for the public. They're just now saying they may arm the rebels when, on record, Congress has appropriated over $1 billion the last 2 years to the rebels. And they've shipped massive weapons out of Benghazi, including heat-seeking missiles, roughly 10,000 of those, 8,000 other surface-to-air missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, into Syria. Turkey off and on bombards different areas of the country with heavy howitzer cannons. But that's not a war because Obama's black and liberal. And he got a peace prize. I say give him like 10 more. I mean, why not? So all of that's coming up. But I'm also going to get deeply into how the NSA really works with you here. And it's now all being admitted. Unfair trade, where the insiders get to know everything about you and everything about your business and everybody you're talking to and what deals you're going to make, and so they can call regulators and have them shut you down. Doesn't matter if it's legal. I mean, people wonder why. We discovered our honeybees became immune to the Roundup pesticide, and that's what's killing them. Top bee biologist, tells his colleague, gets SWAT team 2 days later. That happened in Illinois because your phones are being listened to, folks, and a company's going to test and prove that a GMO is what's causing brain damage in children. And then they get a call by Monsanto lawyers saying, we're going to sue you. And they go, we just decided to do this test 3 days ago. How do you know? And they go, just know you've been warned, punk. They, Monsanto and hundreds of companies, have everything. I want to explain this to you. Any governor can walk in and dial in and listen to anybody they want. That's why they've had governors before go, yeah, when I want to find my wife, I just, go to the system and type in her number and it pops up. And that was, 10 years ago before that was open news. You think you can just choose to put the function on and find somebody with their phone? No. Everything you're doing is being tracked, folks. And it's bad people that have the data. Same reason you don't go post where you live on Facebook and say, by the way, in my safe, I've got my wife's jewelry and here's the passcode. It's not because you're a criminal that you hide that info. Why do I lock my door? Do I lock my door at night because my kids are my captives? That's how the government would spin it. No. I lock it because it's just another level of security. Somebody's got to now break in, and that gives me a heads up to get to a firearm. And I don't do that because I live in fear. I do that because I live in power. I do that because I'm a survivor. I'm not a schmuck. I'm not a sucker. I'm not a goofball. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a mark. I'm not here to be run over. I'm not here to be a slave. I'm here to be informed, dynamic, involved, empowering myself and others. I'm here to breathe air and have red blood pump through my big, fat, red heart. And I'm here to have children. And I'm here to build a civilization. And I'm here to watch them have grandchildren. And if I'm blessed to see great-grandchildren and then to die, but to have what I did for humanity go forward. And that's what you're here for. Not to have a bunch of crooks ruling over us and siphoning our energy off for themselves so they can play God. Now, you got a decision, humanity. What are you going to do? Look at this article, USA Today. USA Today, right here. I'm going to go out and actually buy the newspaper so we have this. Right here, document cam, please. Syrian rebels pledge loyalty to al-Qaeda, and it goes on that the main force, I already told you this, 60-70%, is al-Qaeda in al-Qaeda uniforms with al-Qaeda banners, and they go around chopping Christians' heads off and blowing up synagogues and murdering minority Muslim groups en masse. There's articles out today, and now they're just having it in the mainstream news. For 2 years, I've exposed this, well, really 3 if you count Libya. It's all been admitted. But then I get to hear neocons on national radio when I randomly tune in, like I did 2 days ago, saying Alex Jones is a traitor. He says the government runs al-Qaeda. And then I hear the same host a month before say Obama runs al-Qaeda. So they, even these talk show hosts think you're so dumb. They can have it both ways. I told you big corporations have the NSA and run the NSA and are the NSA. Time Warner, AT&T, Verizon, Google, Apple, all of them are in telecommunications. They are the government. Explain that to you when we come back, okay? But here it is, USA Today. Here's another one about how the main force is al-Qaeda. And then there's Paul Watson's headline, Arrest Obama under NDAA for supporting terrorists in Syria. And we post the law right there, section 1021B2. But, of course, that's only for us because they are announcing the main enemy is Tea Partiers and gun owners, and the military is training to take our guns, put us in FEMA camps. The system wants to make people that aren't criminals so they have an excuse to arrest you, to put you in jail, to take your rights away, to suck off of you. This is how modern slavery is being instituted. There's an article up on Infowars.com by Kurt Nemo about Tea Party governor makes a bong possession a felony, a water pipe, something that people smoke marijuana out of, something that's popular in Austin bars that they smoke tobacco out of. And they're going to put you in jail for 7 years for it because that's how the parasites feed off of you while all the real criminals go free. Boy, that sounds so libertarian. So incredibly libertarian to me. And that's going on in Florida and other states, moves like that. So that's the type of news we've got coming up. Before I get back into the fact that it's now all over the news that al-Qaeda is being given missiles and weapons. And they go, oh, don't worry, we'll make sure the good rebels get it. It's led by Saudi Arabia that is al-Qaeda. It's the Saudi Arabian government that funds al-Qaeda. 15 of the 19 hijackers came from there. And the FBI director is out saying, Snowden's leak may let terrorists hit us. Give me a break, Director Mueller. I've interviewed the head of the U.S. Embassy visa section, Mr. Springman. He's been in national news as well, back in 2001 and 2002. They were ordered to let the 15 hijackers in who were listed as al-Qaeda. And they were told these are CIA agents, not operatives, agents. And they were CIA agents. Mohammed Atta, all of them were trained at the Pensacola Naval Air Station and also at the Defense Language School. And you know how we know that? The head of the Defense Language School, Lieutenant Colonel Butler, went public 2 weeks after 9/11 in an article that the Associated Press even picked up saying, I don't know exactly what's going on, but these guys are government agents. Mohammed Atta was in his course for a year. In the head of the schools, you know, the dean, he was the dean. He taught classes, and 5 of the hijackers were in his class. He knew them. He had lunch with them. He shook their hands. And they were set up. And as best we can tell from the real airphone calls, gas was released on the aircraft. There was no let's roll. All of that is pure bull, ladies and gentlemen. The military refused to stand down and shot down the flight over Pennsylvania. And we even know what squadron did it. The Happy Hooligans out of North Dakota who were stationed in Virginia at the time for drills. And when we interviewed a colonel on that, my source, he died 2 weeks after he came on the show. A lot of dead people we talked to, they die after they come on the show. Human, keep going here. This broadcast is not a game, folks. It's not a joke. I'm not a talk show host that says I'm going to expose FEMA camps. They're real, and then builds it up for a month, and then comes out and debunks it with straw men. I don't say I've got a big announcement in 2 days and it doesn't come out. I don't get up here on air and say our MI5 source and police source said Bilderberg's freaked out. The government's pressuring them to go public. They're going to go public on BBC Saturday, and then it happens 4 days later. This is a real broadcast. I am a real person. I am a real patriot risking my life. You understand? And I want you to know that so you know there's good guys. I want you to understand also what we risk. Many Boffins died to bring you this information. You understand that? We have the schematics of the New World Order. We have the blueprints. We have their program. We know. That's how we can tell you what's really going on before it's in the mainstream news. They nerve gassed the people on board those aircraft and flew them in by remote control. Who they are, I don't know. But NORAD's on record being ordered to stand down. Now, do you think things are going to get better under this government? No. It's going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen, and it's bigger than George W. Bush. It's bigger than Barack H. Obama. They're presidents of a corporate arm of the New World Order. And presidents go and play golf and cut red ribbons, folks. It's CEOs and chairmen and top strategists that run things. And do you know who those top strategists are? They're the Rand Corporation. They're people like Zbigniew Brzezinski. They're the Carnegie and Ford Foundation. You want to name names? It's come out in congressional hearings. The Carnegie Foundation has been running the country since the early 60s. They were pretty much in control before that. And that's why Eisenhower came in and said, there is a technocratic elite taking over with the military-industrial complex. They've got to be stopped. Somebody drops a book in the background. You hear a slam and the president jumps. Because it's come out in the president's papers that he was deeply disturbed and didn't go with the speech they'd written for him. He went out there and said, beware the military-industrial complex and the rest of the quote, the technocrats that control it. Because even by then, they had come in and said, we want to blow up stuff. We want to blame it on foreign enemies. We want to start World War III. We'll use the nuclear war as an excuse to put martial law in. We're going to re-engineer humanity, and we're going to use this Nazi plan for a euro. And Eisenhower went, no. By the way, this has all been declassified. Pieces here, pieces there. He said no to Northwoods. They brought it to Kennedy a year later. He fired a bunch of them. And I'm not romanticizing Dwight D. Eisenhower. The point is that he didn't want to end humanity. He had grandkids. He didn't want to be part of a Nazi plan that was really a British plan. Hitler just got a eugenics plan from the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, funded in the 20s and the 30s by the Rockefellers. This is all mainline history, folks. This is why this is happening. That's why this train takes us to a bad place. We need to get off the train. We need to stop the train. We need to dismantle the train. We need to be on a new plan. I don't want to be governed by this. They think you're so pathetic that they have taken our rights and say they spy on us for Al-Qaeda when they've run Al-Qaeda and created Al-Qaeda, and now they've turned multiple countries over to Al-Qaeda. And the president and leaders in council in Egypt 2 days ago said, we're preparing for war with Israel and the U.S. while the U.S. gives them F-16s to do it. And you go, why? Is Obama a Muslim? No, he's not a Muslim, folks. Sure, he goes and tells him he is. He went to a madrasa. He was trained as a Muslim, but that's his ultimate cover to cause the clash of civilizations that the September 20th, 2000 PNAC document repeated. It's a decades-older plan to create a clash of civilizations between the decadent Christendom, the West, and Islam to destroy both in that cataclysm out of which a one-world religion and mega-tyranny will flow. This is the reality that I'm telling you. I'm begging you. And many of you, many university PhDs, many scientists I've talked to, they have now come to the realization, listening to this broadcast, they go, yes, we were taught eugenics, we were taught the master plan. It's true, we've been taught we're the elect elite. There will be a global government established. There will be bioweapon plagues released. Go talk to any university biology head, and if you talk to them calmly and bring this up, they'll say, where did you get this information? That's classified. This is the plan. But now those university heads have got their kids dying, their wife dying young. They're going, wait a minute. The binary weapon systems have been put into the food and water. We're all being targeted as well. That's because they're not going to kill 80%, and then 20% of you are going to go to Alpha Centauris. They're going to kill everyone. That's what they're telling you, and good people in Hollywood, because there's a revolt in Hollywood, are telling you. I've since talked to people that were involved in films like Oblivion. But the Tet is not an alien force. It's a group of humans who see themselves as a split off of humans and have this master plan. The Tet is the Pentagon. The Tet is the New World Order. The Tet is the artificial technocracy that's already 30 years past us. That's why they're so arrogant. They've got bioweapons that will kill every human on Earth. No one has immunity. They have stuff, and again, I'm not trying to scare you folks. The only hope we've got is to have a total human awakening in the human survival instinct. That's why they implant violence in television to condition you it's okay. It's why they tell you humans are bad and ugly and a scourge and teach you it's cool to be self-destructive. So at a subconscious level, you will suppress your hardwired programming to survive, to adapt, to overcome. And they're using your adaptiveness to adapt to your own destruction. They're using your adaptiveness against you to incrementally bring in tyranny so you accept it and slowly die. But I am here consciously on air with this emergency transmission asking you to flip the levers in your own subconscious mind to tell yourself, I am in combat. I am under attack. I need a brain boost. I want to become conscious. And your brain will start flipping the switches. Flip. Flip, 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 flip. Get into war mode, ladies and gentlemen. Get into survival mode, and we'll beat these people. Their program is already not going well because of the adaptiveness of humans. You understand? It might as well be an alien force, ladies and gentlemen, that we face. And again, their arguments have a lot of validity at certain points about toxic waste systems, dirty industry. There are too many people in certain sectors in biospheres that can't handle it. There are destructive forces in our economy that are wasteful. But then you learn the globalists did all of that to ensure the collapse and the calamity because their full spectrum dominance, they are balancing both of these. But I've studied their operation. They're not even really balancing it. And I can see that their eugenics program, a 160-year-old plan, has not adapted, even if you wanted to agree with them, and is going to end up destroying them as well, because the secret of the universe is what comes around goes around. You reap what you sow. You could call it karma, but I don't mean that in the Hindu fashion. What you do comes back on you. What others do comes back on them. It's all interconnected, and the establishment, I know, is having a debate right now and realizing this, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You need to make the decision to choose reality. You need to make the decision to choose the truth, or we have no future. Now, let me blitz through as much news as possible. Document cam, please, for TV viewers watching on prisonplanet.tv. For radio listeners, I'll be giving you the headlines so you can pull this up for yourself. USA Today, cover of it. Syrian rebels pledge loyalty to al-Qaeda as Obama announces billions more in high-tech weapon systems. Just remember that when the TSA wants to stick their hands down your wife's pants. Arrest Obama under NDAA for supporting terrorists in Syria. We list the federal law, though unconstitutional, the code. I mean, just think of the hiding in plain view, that the government runs al-Qaeda. Obama is the global head of al-Qaeda publicly. But meanwhile, they're announcing that al-Qaeda is not the threat now, it's the Tea Party. Man behind Syrian chemical weapons claim is a fiction writer who ran Benghazi cover-up. White House makes miraculous discovery to distract from domestic scandals. Also Infowars.com. Here's Breitbart. Obama administration considers resettling thousands of Syrian refugees in the U.S. Yeah, kind of like they brought in, was it 30,000 Iraqi Republican Guard pre-trained by the CIA when Saddam was our ally to be involved as the backup team to blame if they couldn't go with the right-wing group. They had groups of Iraqis ready to blame. That was even on local news. Just like the same program with the Zarnev brothers. Same program. I mean, they just got a shake and bake. Like, how do you make these pancakes? Oh, you just add milk to these. It's got everything in it. I mean, it's like, it's a shake and bake. I mean, it's stuff's elementary, folks. Rand Paul, that way they can blow everything up with the good. They're going to bring tens of thousands of Al-Qaeda here, and they'll probably be in police uniforms before you know it. I'm not joking, by the way. Rand Paul, your taxes fund regimes that kill Christians for blasphemy against Islam. Yep, there's Rand Paul. Is Obama starting a war with Syria just to distract us from the scandals? Yes, the war has already been going on. It should be already a 2-year war now going public as distraction. Now they're just going to use it as a false flag and expand it. With scandals raging at home, Obama conveniently discovers chemical weapons used in Syria with no proof. These are just complete liars. Huffington Post, quagmire, U.S. arms to Syria. Goes on. Video game casts Tea Party Patriot groups as enemy terrorist. Every major shoot-'em-up game I've looked at, the new ones coming out, are right-wingers blow everything up and have to be arrested and put in FEMA camps or executed or tortured. I mean, there's more than 8 different games out currently, all the big top sellers, where, and of course, every time before there's a war, they have a video game. It's all pre-programmed. They're getting ready to maybe even nuke a city and say, Patriot military did it. That's the kind of stuff in these games. So just get ready. Just get ready, okay? The pre-programming is the proof of who's going to do it. I mean, only a moron wouldn't see this. Okay, but I guess the public, again, is not moronic. You're in a trance. Let's continue. U.S. Syria used chemical weapons crossing red line. CBS News, absolute balderdash, poppycock, bunk, fraud, scam, just over-the-top ridiculous lies. Bravo Sierra. Continuing, U.S. plans $50 million a day, no-fly zone in Syria after finding proof of government-used chemical weapons. Oh, and then there was WMDs in Iraq, too. By the way, Syria has their chemical weapons legally and lawfully. U.S. uncovering on Syrian chemical weapons, unconvincing, says Russia. And Russia's got troops there right now in the proxy war, so do the Iranians. People are like, good, let's kill them Ruskies. With Al-Qaeda? By the way, the West blinked on 888 when they invaded Abkhazia and South Ossetia and Georgia and then said that Russia had invaded. Total fraud now in the history books. And then Russia just rolled in medium-range nukes and said, we're going to start nuking NATO bases. And the Russians had the target. Russians are not known to bluff. And you can tell they were all swigging vodka at the same time, and the West backed off. I mean, this is the type of lunacy that's going on here. And look, the globalists weren't ready at that time, but if you listen to Joel Skousen, who I agree with, they want a nuclear war. That's what they're digging in for. By the way, cops and FBI agents, you're not going to get access to the bunkers. Go out, take your kids outside and get a suntan all when it happens, huh? Huh? And you can say I'm right once that happens, huh? How's that sound? No, I'd rather you wake up now. I mean, how much more does it have to get obvious here? Al-Qaeda-linked group Syrian rebels once denied, now key to Assad victories. McClatchy newspapers. Oh, my goodness. Oh, do I get apologies from all the neocons? No, no. No, I'm the bigger enemy now. I'm the big enemy. Report, Syrian rebels execute a 14-year-old boy for insulting Islam. Washington Post. But it's okay for the Huffington Post to show a dog's rear end and say it's Jesus. I'm going to get to that when we come back. And we're going to get into the NSA spying and what's really happening with it, the rest of the story. I'm Alex Jones. Spread the word about our Twitter account, Real Alex Jones, for updates. Spread the word about Infowars.com. Sleeper cell of liberty here in the United States. And I don't get any orders from any government or any individual. I get mine from history and the good Lord above. And that's who you are, ladies and gentlemen, as well. We're going to beat this by identifying the enemy, by never stopping, by discrediting them, and by hating their guts, but loving our families 10 times more than we hate the enemy, by spitting on them spiritually, by absolutely just taking every opportunity we can to degrade the enemy. We're going to win. You know, there's a headline out that Congress has the lowest approval rating ever in a Gallup poll of 10 points. It was actually one a few years ago of 9%. But listen, these crooks are trying to gut this country right now. And when you get somebody like Peter King coming out and saying, arrest the reporter now, arrest London Guardian and Washington Post reporters and people that broke the story of NSA spying, that is a tyrant. I mean, Lindsey Graham's out there saying the bloggers and the web don't deserve to even be online. I mean, these people are outrageous, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now moving into the NSA spying, Bloomberg, U.S. agency said to swap data with thousands of firms. Bloomberg. Thousands of firms. Ladies and gentlemen, the firms take all the data on their customers, everybody, and give it to the NSA. And then the other firms do it, and they all share it and team up as giant gangs against everybody else. I know for a fact Bloomberg knew things about what was going on with me and what was going on in telecommunications issues that I haven't announced yet, that I know they had to get from the government. In a hit piece they did a week ago on us. And I hadn't even gotten into that yet. I mean, it's not just a few analysts spying on people. It's the Fortune 100 that go to Bilderberg. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they're doing. That's what this is all set up for. So how many times, thousands of times, I've told you it's about economic espionage. And here it is, Bloomberg. Let's continue here. Next article. This is out of Business Insider. It finally comes out. Elite traders are getting access to data before everybody else via all this NSA garbage. Of course they are. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all rigged. State Department has hired agents with criminal records, memo reveals. A large percentage of them are hardcore felons. Of course they are. Stalin, Hitler, Mao, they all open the jails up and get these people. The government wants hardcore criminals. You don't hire naive college kids that think the government's good. They blow the whistle on you. You hire child molesters. You hire hitmen. You hire con men. The government is converting to pure criminals. That's the New York Post. Here's another one. 57% fear government will use NSA data to harass political opponents. A Rasmussen poll. Fear they will? It's admitted they use it on the media and people. I get phone calls probably once a year with a blank phone screen. I've talked to telecommunications people. That means it's from the national security level, in control of the switches, threatening me and saying what I was just talking about, so I know it's the government. It probably isn't the government. It's probably one of these corporations. This is America, okay? Grow up. Grow up out there and stop being naive, and don't let this scare you. You better be scared of not standing up. Just like a woman getting grabbed in some parking lot by a serial killer. She better fight back and try to get away from him. That's her only shot. Instead of getting scared and getting in the vehicle with him. We need to not get in the vehicle with a New World Order.